There is a lot of excitement surrounding Mario Kart World, but there's also an equal amount of controversy surrounding the game, most notably the price. And as much as I'm in the same boat as you guys, we all feel the same way about the price, so I don't really see a point in talking about that. So instead, in this video, I'm going to be talking about every component of this game that has people worried. I'm personally on the opposite side, as I'm extremely excited about this game, but I understand where everyone is coming from. I'm just here to talk about what I think and hopefully provide those who are pessimistic with an optimistic perspective of it all. So with that said, without further ado, let's start giving her, bud. We're starting off with Grand Prix mode. Since this is an open world Mario Kart, instead of playing 4 individual tracks in each Grand Prix, after each race, you'll spend most of the following races traveling to the next track. And when you get to the next track, you only play a single lap of it. This has really rubbed people the wrong way. And to make matters worse, the route to the next track is incredibly bland and boring every single time. People really don't like this and feel like it takes away from the beauty of Mario Kart. Now, as much as I understand, there are some important things to mention regarding this. First and foremost, this is exclusively in Grand Prix mode. When playing in versus mode, time trials, or online, this won't be the case. I couldn't find any direct confirmation of this, but I've seen multiple comments talking about how the people at Nintendo Treehouse confirmed that outside of Grand Prix mode, you have the choice between playing in the Grand Prix format or playing in the traditional track format. With that said, let's be real. Grand Prix is a mode you usually only play through once. Mario Kart shines the most in the multiplayer experience, and that's dominated by versus mode and online play. So, in hindsight, I actually really like Mario Kart World's Grand Prix mode. I could easily look past the boring routes to the next track, when, for me, this experience is going to be exclusive to Grand Prix mode and free roam. It'd be a much bigger problem for me if this was the way every race was played online, but that's not going to be the case, which is awesome. So, believe it or not, I'm actually looking forward to this game's Grand Prix mode, and ironically, more so than the Grand Prix mode in any other Mario Kart game. However, the boring routes aren't off the hook just yet, because people really don't like how this ties into Knockout Tour. Knockout Tour not only presents the same boring routes in Grand Prix mode, but doubles down on it, as the only time you'll be playing a full lap of a track is on lap 6. Otherwise, you barely spend any time on the tracks you start and arrive at. That means every Knockout Tour you play will mostly center around this boring track design. A lot of people don't like this, and I get it, but this is the perfect time to tie in the gimmick of 24-player races. We caught some glimpses of how engaging these knockout tours can be with the CPUs on hard difficulty, but I think the classic engaging nature of Mario Kart will really show when 24 humans are playing in Knockout Tour. However, I see a lot of people making arguments about how 24-player races are going to be way too chaotic. But these are the same people talking about how the routes in between tracks are too boring, let alone the fact that the tracks themselves are really wide as is. Here's the thing, the gimmick of 24 players and the boring and/or wide tracks are complementary to one another. If you think 24-player races sound too chaotic, you can thank the tracks and routes being respectively too wide and boring for minimizing the chaos. And if you think the tracks and routes are respectively too wide and boring, you can thank 24-player races for making the races less boring. This is a perfect mix between two worrisome concepts, and when the game releases and we learn how to play, we're gonna have a lot of fun. Now, even though only 1 of 6 laps in Knockout Tour will consist of 24 players, I think the fact that at least half the Knockout Tour consists of at least 16 players will still make the Knockout Tours feel engaging, and by the time you get to 12 players, you'll already be so immersed in the tour that you won't feel any less engaged. So I think Knockout Tour will be a really fun game mode, and I'm super excited to play a ton of it when the game comes out. I'm pretty confident that 24-player races will complement the boring Knockout Tour routes quite nicely. Now let's talk about the items. What's catching everyone's attention is the impact of every offensive item has been dramatically nerfed. Getting hit by shells or obstacles propels you forward. You don't even get hit if a bullet bill runs into you. And you accelerate back up to top speed so much faster, even if you aren't using a combo that's high in acceleration. But the item that easily got the biggest nerf is the shock. The initial zap is the only thing that didn't get nerfed, and even got buffed because you stop in place. But again, you accelerate back up to top speed really quickly, and you also grow back to normal size much faster than in any other Mario Kart game. And to top it all off, dodging the shock has never been easier. If you simply have a roof over your head, the shock can't zap you. And now, if you're behind the player who used shock, you won't be affected. These factors definitely caught people's attention. But honestly, not just for the shock, but for all the items, I think these are all positives. Getting hit is still a detriment to your race, but being able to recover far more more quickly after getting hit is gonna make the game a lot more fun. If you make a stupid mistake like running into a car or slipping on an obvious banana, you won't be punished for it nearly as badly. If you get blue shelled, you won't be immediately set up to get comboed to the back of the pack. The main idea is that while getting hit by items and obstacles will still impact your race won't be immediately over after just one hit. I understand if people don't like this, as it kind of goes against the notion that anything can happen in Mario Kart, but my perspective is that people are a lot happier when they're winning. And when you have more opportunity than ever before to bounce back after getting hit, your chances of winning or placing well are only slightly decreased. I think this will very positively impact the game's competitive spirit. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is arguably the most punishing game in Mario Kart history. Most Mario Kart races that are self-destructed are due to big mistakes, but in 8 Deluxe, even the smallest mistake can lead to the complete destruction of your race. So while Mario Kart World's item system will make the game far more forgiving, and thus seemingly less skill-based on paper, it makes me think that every win will be far more rewarding and within your control because you'll always have an opportunity to bounce back from getting hit and or from making a mistake. So overall, I'm not just okay with the item changes, but in fact, I'm a huge fan of them. I think it'll make the game much more fast-paced, rewarding, and all-around fun. Finally, let's talk about some of the item lag we witnessed in the Nintendo Treehouse gameplay. I saved this one for last because I can't really provide a directly optimistic perspective on it. When it comes to trailing and getting trailed, the lag in this game is just so confusing. I've seen it where a player can trail someone, but then keep their trail, and I've also seen the opposite scenario where a player seemingly trails someone, but they're unaffected while the player loses their protection. I simply cannot argue there being a positive swing to this. This is really weird and really frustrating. The only thing I can directly say is that we can only hope that this will either be fixed before the game releases or in an update after the game releases. Because just like everything I've analyzed today, there's a chance that what we play on June 5th could be different. But for what we have right now, if this is hypothetically the only kind of lag we can expect online when the game comes out, this is a lot better than in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Lag trolls are some of the most frustrating things to experience online, and if we're not going to experience that, then that's a positive. And I simply don't think that this is that bad. Even if you trail someone who doesn't happen to get trailed, then you get hit because of that. Because of how generous this game is, you'll be able to bounce back. I wish I could say more beyond this lag being less infuriating than in 8 Deluxe, and at that, we have no idea of the extent to how lag will impact online play. But if we're specifically talking lag trails, this is a huge step up from Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Hopefully this gets fixed, but more importantly, hopefully it's not much worse than this when Mario Kart World releases. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, I'd really appreciate if you'd leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Let me know in the comments what you think of these components of Mario Kart World. I hope that if you were feeling pessimistic about the game for any of the reasons I talked about today, that after listening to my perspective, you gained a little bit more optimism. Regardless, we don't know the ins and outs of what this game is all about because we can't play it yet. So here's to hoping my optimistic perspective of the game proves to be the way to look at it when the game releases. With that said, until next time, thank you all so much for watching. Have yourselves a fantastic day and keep on giving her, bud.